Hello friends, it's Tonton from State 948. In today's video we're gonna talk about refining fire crystals, how it works and all of that, how to go about it, how to think about it. I'll share some data with you, so it's actually quite simple, but it can, until you see it and until you have it happening in your state, sometimes it's a bit overwhelming. Basically, you're not really sure what to do, how to go about it, and all of these things. So we basically cover it all today, so you kind of know from a free-to-play to high spender what are the options, what are the strategies, and it's kind of linked as well to T11, right? So that will be the next video, will be about T11s and Helios troops. So we talk about both today and tomorrow. Not to make a too long of a video, so I'll split the topics. So basically, refining fire crystal is happening in the crystal laboratory when FC5 and more become FC6 and more become available. So you have 3 waves of building. You have, you can, when you start the game, you can go to furnace 30. Then, after a while, you can get to fire crystal 1 to 3. Then you can get to 4 to 5 a bit later. And then again later, you will be able to go to 6 to 8. And when you increase a building from 6 to 8, it will start to require both fire crystals and refined fire crystals, basically. And you see it will require a tiny amount of refined fire crystal, but that takes a lot to get them. And it will take fire crystal plus resources. So that's where, that's you will need the refine. So RFC usually, and FC are fire crystal, RFC are refined fire crystals. So you will need a lot, and you will need to convert basically a lot of your fire crystal into refined fire crystal. And the way it works, if we start to look at it, maybe we'll look at it from here, is so that's the refinement. So that's exchanging resources for fire crystal, and you have the super refinement, which is exchanging fire crystal for refined fire crystal. So that's the super refinement. And the way it works is like every day, the first refinement, which I used today, I forgot to keep it, but it will be discounted 50%. So the first time you refine every day, it will be 50%. So you will want to refine at least once a day, because you have it half price, right? So, and that's reset, as you can see, attempts, reset Monday UTC. So it's reset between Sunday to Monday, it's reset. So basically, there is kind of a weekly thing going on, plus a daily thing, which is half price. So the summary will be that you need to refine a certain amount on Monday to reach a certain threshold, and we will talk about that in more detail based on your spending and where you want to go. So you refine between 1 and 160 times on Monday to reach certain thresholds, and then you refine one a day for the rest of the week. So basically, that's the way it will work. And how to know how much you need to refine basically on Monday, and what are the strategy here. If you look at, I'll show you something else later with more detail, but what do you see in game, right? You see that your first refinement, you see I've made 23, so I've made 20 on Monday, I made 1 on Tuesday, I made 1 on Wednesday, and 1 on Thursday, right? So that's 23. So I decided to go to the second tier. The first tier is by default, is 1 to 20, and every tier is every 20 refinement, basically, more or less, for the first one at least. So these are the tiers. So if you refine between 1 and 20, you have 65% chance. So you see, when you refine between 1 and 20, it costs 20 fire crystals, right? It does not cost 50, it costs 20 fire crystals. And for every 20 fire crystal you use, you have a chance, 65% chance to get 1, 25% chance to get 2, and 10% chance to get 3. If you achieve the next, so that's tier 1, let's call it tier 1. That's tier 2, right? If you reach tier 2, that means that you refine 20 times with 20 crystal, or 25, I forgot how much it costs, but we'll look in a sec. We'll have a table that basically gives us all that information, because the game is not super precise, right? If you go to the second tier, it will take you per refinement, so that the 50 is gonna increase, but every time you refine, you will get 85% chance to get 2, so you never get 1 again, and then you will get 50% chance to get 3, and then when you reach the next tier of 20 more super refinement, you have other percentages, and that will cost 100 per refinement, but you get chance to get more, etc., etc. And then when you get to the tier that is 100 super refinement, then you get small chances to get a lot, and so that's as far as you can go basically. And so that's kind of the little information you have in the game, and that's why it's confusing, is because you don't really know how much you get per refinement. You don't really understand how much you need to build the buildings. Like it does not really tell you what to do exactly, right? It's just giving you some information about your chances, and that's kind of lacking a lot. Before I start to dive into like a bit more detailed, basically the way it works, right? Often for free to play, that's what I do on my farm that is 100% free to play, right? Every week, no, not every week, most of the week I refine one time on Monday, and I refine a super refine once a day, right? So I super refine 7 days a week, 1 time per day. When I've accumulated a bit too many fire crystal, because if you do that, you don't have enough refined fire crystal, and you will have too much fire crystals. So from time to time, with my farm, on Monday, I refine 20 times, right? I'll do 20 times on Monday to burn through my fire crystal that I accumulated and to get extra refined fire crystal. And then for the rest of the week, I will refine at 50% discount every day, the tier 2. So that's 25 fire crystal. So I'm at tier 2. So this morning, it cost me 25 to do that. So that's kind of the strategy for free to play. And that's what most people care about. If you have accumulated a lot, then you can go to, see how it works. I did super refining, so I used 50 to get 2. I had 65% chance to get 2, I think, or 85% chance to get 2, so that's fair enough, right? And now that's what we will look at, is like, do you get more per fire crystal you spend? Do you get more refined fire crystal? And that will answer that in a sec, and I'll show you actually Discord. So I'll quit the game, and we'll look at... That's a guide I've made on Discord that is mixing both fire crystals and super refined fire crystal. But what we care about is these things, right? So on the left, so let me see, you don't see it fully. So we will use Discord for now because I don't want to waste too much time. I cannot get paint on screen somehow. So yeah, let's do that. I'll basically zoom in a bit and explain. So like, on the left, you have the tier, right? So you have the amount of super refinement you do. So that's, and that's the cost per super refinement. So when you do 20 super refinement, so 1 to 20, it costs 10 fire crystals, right? And at the daily reduced, when you get 50% discount on the first time of the day. So that's how much you get minimum, that's how much you get maximum, and that's your chances to get what you want. So you get 65% chance to get 1, 25% chance to get 2, and things like that. So as you can see, that's basically what you have in game. And so the part that is interesting, right, is like the expected value means that for how much can you expect per super refinement, right? Just let me to refine full cost. So in average, per super refinement, you will get 1.45, but the super refinement costs you 20, right? So here it costs you 50, and you can get 2.15, but that costs you twice the amount, right? 2.5 times the amounts, and you don't get 2.5 times the amounts here, basically. Right, so that's kind of, you have to take into account that this expected value is not based on the amount of fire crystal you spend, right? It's based on on what you will get per refinement, but the higher you go, the more it costs. So from 1 basically, from 1 to 20, that's this line. So you can do it 20 times a week, because after doing it 20 times, you will go to the next level, right? That's the full cost in terms of fire crystal. So for me, I spend 400 fire crystal on Monday to be able to do that. And then per day, I'll spend 25 more for 6 days, because I will refine every day tier 2, which is half price. So it's 25. So that's going to cost me 550 fire crystal for 1 week to refine, basically the first tier. on Monday, so 20 times to unlock the second tier and to refine second tier the rest of the week. So that's kind of the minimum output and the maximum output, right? So you can have an idea that, you know, if you are unlucky, you'll get 20, and that's very unlikely. And if you are super lucky, which is again very unlikely, you'll get 60. And you have the expected. So these are interesting, right? Cost per fire crystal. So to get one refined fire crystal is gonna cost you in average 6.66, right? So that's very important number, right? And you see, it's kind of these one are a bit more expensive, and the last two are cheaper. So, like refining on the first tier for free to play is very effective. The only issue with that is that you basically get a little amount of refined fire crystal, so you're not gonna be able to progress fast. That's why sometimes you might want to go to tier 2. But you see, like tier 2 costs near twice and a half more, basically, you know, nearly, right? It costs a lot more to get a refined fire crystal per your fire crystal, if that makes sense. Even if you get more on paper, you know, you're like, you go, the expected outcome is 29, here is 43, so you say 43 is better than 29, but the cost is 1,000 fire crystals, when here it was 400, so 1,000 fire crystals mean that you will, that's the cost for tier 2, right? So that will mean if you do tier 1 plus tier 2, that will be 1,400 fire crystal, if that makes sense. So you kind of have the, another way you have a cost, just let me look at it, because that's so small for me. You have the cost per fire crystal as well here, if that makes sense. So you kind of get an idea. So when you look at that, right, what do you do? As a free-to-play, again, it's simple. You don't have that many fire crystal. You refine once a day, every day. You don't think too much about it. When you have too many fire crystals, either you wait to really have a lot of fire crystal to go to a more efficient tier, but that's likely not gonna happen, so you just go to tier 2. You just go to tier 2 like every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, every 2 weeks, a bit of depending on what you need. You go to tier 2, so that means you refine 20 times on Monday plus once a day. So that's kind of free to play. And then for low spenders, for medium spenders, for free to play, you can go up tiers, right? And then you start to see that, you know, some tiers are more effective than the other ones. And you can see like the cost of a refined fire crystal is, you know, in average 6, 16, 16, 14, 13. So if you go to the latest tier and you're a big whale, you know, that's actually decent. That's one of the good way for you to go there. And that will help you. But if you do that, you will have, it's gonna cost you 160 per tier. So if you accumulate, if you want to reach that tier, right, you will need to complete all of that. So you will need to complete 2,600 plus 2,000 plus 1,000 plus 400. So that's, you know, 4.6, 5.6, that's 6,000 fire crystal to unlock. And that's for 1 week only, right, to unlock that. So to refine a lot at that level, you already need to invest 6,000 fire crystals. So that will mean you have 10,000, you get, you know, maybe 20,000 fire crystal, and you want to go from fire crystal 5 to fire crystal 8 very quickly, or fire crystal 8 to fire crystal 10 very quickly. You don't want to have to think too much. You buy a shit ton of packs, then you will just do that, basically, and refine as much as you can at that level. And that's gonna cost you that much, right? And then, you know, you refine a lot on Monday to unlock that, and then as much as you need all the other days, because you might buy pack throughout the week and just still do your daily reduced. So that's with that table, and it's on the official Discord. So if you look at the official Discord guides on refined fire crystal, you will find it. You know, take a screenshot of it if you want to. There is no like particular link to that. It's kind of found everywhere on the internet. I did not made it, right? So that's giving you an idea. What you will care now to understand is to where do I have it, right? So that will be the topic for next day. Like that will be Helios versus refined fire versus FC8, right? That's the choice you have to make, because you will have refined fire. No, you will have T11 Helios available before you have fire crystal 6 to 8 troops. So what people do, and that's a mistake often, they go towards fire crystal, they go towards Helios troops when they should actually accumulate crystal and wait for fire crystal 6 to release and to go to they should go to Fire Crystal 8. So that's something we're gonna see tomorrow, and that's very simple to compare, right? On the left here, that's Helios, so T11, Fire Crystal 5. So if you go for T11, you as a free-to-play or low spender, you will likely stay Fire Crystal 5 because you won't have enough crystal to refine and to upgrade your building. So what we compare is Fire Crystal 5 T11 versus, and that's infantry. I think that's infantry, but that's the same for all the other troops. And that's T10 versus Fire Crystal 8. So that's T11 Fire Crystal 5, T10 Fire Crystal 8. You can see that the only thing that's higher on T11 is power. So it's the number that the power of your city, not the power of the troop. The troop is not more powerful. It's the amount of power you get per troop. And that's higher, but you don't care about power, right? You care about attack, defense, lethality, and health. And you can see that attack is the same. Defense is better on Fire Crystal 8 T10. Lethality is better on Fire Crystal 8 T10. And health, which is the most important stat, is better than on Fire Crystal 8 T10 than T11. And also, it is cheaper to go from Fire Crystal 5 to Fire Crystal 8 than going from Fire Crystal 5 to Fire Crystal 5 T11, right? It costs less Fire Crystal to do that, to do the better troop. So you should not push toward T11 unless you are a spender, basically. That's the summary of it, and you can see. And you can say, oh, it's only 2 health. 2 health is 9.5% of the stats you have, right? So 2 health is going to be multiplied on a rally leader by 2,000% health, 3,000% health, 1.5. So that's a lot of health. Like 2 points of health is actually nearly 10% increase. So it's a big deal. It's really a big deal. So you should focus on Fire Crystal 8, T10 as a free-to-play low spender, and leave T11 to bigger spender, or do them a lot later in the game. So that's something I wanted to mention briefly. And that's something you will find as well on the official Discord. You can always take a screenshot, but you can start to see in that one, and I can give you a link to that one. It's not that the easiest to find. If you want it, just ask me in the comment, I'll share it with you. But you can start to see how much it's gonna take to go from Fire Crystal 5 to Fire Crystal 6, right? So you can see that for Furnace, you're gonna need 60. So the Furnace is very expensive when it comes to refine Fire Crystal, right? And 900 in total, so that's divided in 5 upgrades, basically. So it's 150 and 12, basically, right? You will need 150 and 12 per upgrade. You will need to do that 5 times. So you see the Embassy, Command Center. The camps are quite expensive. War Academy, Infirmary. Basically, when you rush from Fire Crystal 5 to Fire Crystal 8, you want to skip Infirmary. You want to skip War Academy. War Academy, you can keep it level 2, 3 even. You don't have to go higher than that unless you go for T11. Then you will have to put it to Fire Crystal 5. But right now, there is no use in putting War Academy, Fire Crystal 6, 7, 8. It might be for T12 when we have them later in the game. But right now, there is no use. So you can keep your War Academy to the minimum. So you push the other buildings that are important, which is Furnace, then the camps, then Embassy, then Furnace, then the camps, and you repeat that, right? So you can see how much you need and how much you plan. And, I made some calculation for you. So that's the cost of T10. That's the cost of what you need to do, right? So that's something I can share as well. That's on our Discord. I can make a document with it if you want to, guys. But that's basically only if you focus on Embassy, Furnace, and camps, right? How many you will need, and from going from Fire Crystal 5 to Fire Crystal 6, you will need 2,000 Fire Crystal and 135 Fire Crystal, right? So that's 135 Fire Crystal. If we go back to this, and let's say you get them very slowly by doing the first tier, so 1 refine every day. So that's gonna be 135, right? Let me put it in small. Okay, I cannot. So that's gonna be okay. Let's do here for now. That's gonna be okay. So 135, and if you get them from the first tier, right, it's gonna cost you 6.666 basically, right? So times 6. So basically, to get 135 in average, right, it's gonna cost you 900. So to do your Furnace in that case, to do your that, right? So you need 60 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 because you don't need to do the embassy when you are max fire crystal 5. You don't need to do the embassy. You already have it ready, right? So that's gonna cost you basically that's 1,200 plus 900. Okay, that's gonna cost you 2.1 plus you will in average it's gonna cost you 900 to get the refined fire crystal you need. So that's roughly from going from fire crystal 5. If you are lucky averagely, it's gonna be roughly 3,000 fire crystals, right? And in total, to go from fire crystal 5 to fire crystal 8, in average, depending a bit how you refine, and you know there are many ways to go about it. But if you go quick, it's a bit more expensive. If you go very slow, it's a bit cheaper. If you go average, but you know it depends a bit on your luck and how you refine, which tier every week. It's gonna cost roughly 30,000, right? So that's written here. That's why it takes between 30 to 35k fire crystal because you will need to refine a lot of them, right? So it's not gonna cost you as much in fire crystals, but themselves, because you know it's 3,000 plus 3,000 plus 5,000, but that's, you know, you have to remove infirmary, you have to remove war academy, so it's a bit lower than that. But between the fire crystal plus the refined fire crystal, it's roughly 30-35k depending on how you go about it. When T11, I don't have it here, but T11 is roughly the same, I think. Where do I have it? But it's roughly the same. It's a bit more. So basically, you know, again, it's easier to go to Fire Crystal 8. It's better troops, and you can there, you know, because the issue with T11 is that they cost more to heal, longer to heal, and more to train. So you have weaker troops with T11, and they cost more to train. So more resources. So you will have issue if you're a low spender, maybe maintaining your resources, right? So that's kind of really about it. Like for whales. The way I balance it myself, I'm calculating. So where is it? Let's go back to it. So I'm calculating where am I and where I want to go. So for example, I want to go to, I will be maxed Fire Crystal 8. I'll do my infirmary. I'm probably not do my War Academy yet, but I'll do my infirmary and I'll do my embassy. I'll do my command center. So I'll max out Fire Crystal 8. And so I need to calculate how much I need to Fire Crystal 9, right? So that's gonna be you know, more or less 600 and 4,000 minus, you know, I'm not going to do Infirmary and War Academy immediately. So that's, you remove more or less 100, you move on less 700 something. So it's 3.5 and 500, right? And 500, again, you know, I'll get it between, let's say I'm getting it roughly it's gonna take me, you know, because I'll do sometime I'll refine 1, sometime I'll refine 20 times on Monday, sometime I'll refine 1, sometime I will refine 40, so it depends a bit. But let's say even if by default I have it, you know, 1 refine every 12 fire crystals, yeah, it's basically gonna cost me 10, 11, 12k. So if I look at where am I today, so that's something you can plan, because you will need to get them in advance, right? You cannot do that last moment. You need to get them in advance. So for me, we said I roughly need, it's here, right? I roughly need 500, plus I need 5-6k here. And, you know, to get to Fire Crystal 9, which for me will be around the summer. So, you know, I have 1 month and a half, if I remember, something like that, more or less. So I'm on track. So that's why that's why I wanted to make that video. You kind of need to look at where you want to go next based on your spending, when your natural progression. If you're a free-to-play low spender, you don't have to think too much. You know, just refine once a day. And then if you need Fire Crystal, you know, and you have a lot of crystal, you know, if you need refine Fire Crystal and you have a lot of Fire Crystal, you just refine to tier 2, so you refine 20 on Monday and then once a day. You will see, but you will need to anticipate, unless you are a whale that's buying a shit ton of Fire Crystal and that will be able to refine 100 times. So if you want, you know, if you want to do them like in a bulk, like Monday, you don't have to do them one by one. You can go and you can say, I want to do 20, you will do 20, right? So for me, I did 20. So if I wanted to go to next year, I need to do 16 more. So if I would do 16 more, basically, it's still increasing by 50, and then it starts to increase by 100. So I know where is the threshold. So that will unlock the next tier if I want to. If you made a mistake, you can correct on Tuesday, on Wednesday. It's not a big deal. At the end of the day, you're gonna waste some fire crystals, but don't refine a lot on Sunday to unlock the next tier because it's resetting on Monday. So do it ideally on Monday, maybe 2 days if you messed up. And that's really the simple way, and it's anticipate and calculate, right? So I'll share. I have one building calculator I can share on Discord, on Google Doc that I'll share, on Google Sheet that I can share in the comment. It takes a bit of time, but basically you enter where you are. Fire Crystal 5, 1 star, Fire Crystal or 4, Fire Crystal 4, 3 upgrades, whatever, and it's gonna tell you how much you need. Otherwise, you take one of the simple options for you is, you take because I'll share with you in the description of the video. I'll put of the information I have in the guide on Discord I made for my alliance, basically. But you take that image, you take a snapshot of it, and you just circle, what you need. For example, with the green, you take paint or whatever, and you just circle, okay, I need command center, so you circle, and then you just put it on the spreadsheet, or you calculate it quickly on a piece of paper, and you keep it somewhere, so you know your numbers. But you need to know your numbers, and the way I usually do it, and that's why I make Discord guides about it for my alliance, is people need to plan for that. You cannot buy all the packs in the same week, even if you're well. You need to buy them over weeks and over months, so you need to know the amount of crystals you need, and you need to know, what that 1439 means if you're well and you want to be max T10. And that probably mean 15-20k fire crystal, if not more, right? So T10 is actually very, you can see, right? It's there you go 50% more from FC8 to FC9. You go from 400 and 3,700 to 600 and 4,300. So that's 600 more, plus that's 50% more. So that's not that much. Here you need 1,000 more, plus you need more than twice more. So FC10 is very, very hard to get. That's why some people, they consider going or pushing 1 or 2 troops to T11 around FC9. So that's one thing people consider, and that I think it could be worth it depending a bit on where you are. It could be to at least push 1 or 2 troops, at the one you use the most, to T11, so you slowly work on the last 1 or 2 troops over time, and you don't take your time for these, but then you swap to FC10. If you want to rush to FC10, then it's gonna take a lot of commitment, because that's probably 20-30,000 fire crystal. When it took, remember, to go from fire crystal 5 to 8, it took 30,000 fire crystal more or less to go there. That alone is already 20, just to do 1 more level. So it's really, really expensive. So for everyone that was looking for information about refined fire crystal, let me know if that's what you wanted. Let me know if you have open questions. Let me know if something is not clear. Anything you've seen on Discord, that's our Discord, that's my alliance Discord, I can share somewhere else. I can copy paste it somewhere. I've made all of it myself, so or took some other resources from other people, but the detail and the explanation, the strategies, and all of that, that's kind of, you don't always find it on other guides. So let me know if you need anything, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you tomorrow. Bye bye.